Mothers are the queens of the castle, but let's be real, it's not all ball gowns and glass slippers.
On this podcast, we're giving you a peek behind the throne at the privilege and responsibility of wearing the crown. My name is Helen Hope Kimbrough, and I'm a proud wife and mom of 2 adult sons.
And I'm Charlita Hatch, a proud wife, married to my high school sweetheart, and a proud mom to 2 little ones. Get ready as we share jewels with each other
and you around all things connected to motherhood. Hello, everyone. My name is Helen Hope Kimbrough, and I'm back on the microphone. And who do you see on this screen right here? You see my girl, Charlita from Charlotte, but you also see some of our amazing guests on the call. So we have Tracey Haynes, who is my sister, and the love of my life. So I'm glad she's on the call. And we also have my classmate, Wanda Harding, on the call. And so, what we would like for you to do is provide a brief introduction of yourself. And also, because both of you are educators, just share why you chose education as a profession.
Great day. My name is Tracey Haynes, Tracey Hope Haynes, and I am actually Helen's sister, as she mentioned. I am a second grade teacher here in Atlanta in Fulton County schools, and I have taught for 28 to 30 years. It's a little different because they didn't accept my years from Hampton when I started. But I have been taught for a long time. Currently, I'm a second grade teacher, but I've taught pre-K, I've taught first grade, I've taught second and third. And the reason I became a teacher was kind of I wanted to follow my mom's footsteps because my mom was a teacher, but also because I really wanted to graduate. I started out as a math major, and after a while, that math and me didn't get along. So I decided to do elementary education, and I absolutely love it. And that's why I'm still in the classroom.
I feel like we all have a story like that. I started out as a 5-year MBA major, couldn't get past engineering. Then I went to finance, couldn't get past that. I'm like, what major can I get and graduate? Business management. Here we go.
I know.
I'm like, my mama is not going to play this extra time. I need a major.
Yes, yes. And we also have, the similarity of that. But then Tracy also, just because I know you, and just talking about your educational path and chart, that you also wanted to be a teacher that sometimes you didn't have because of things that you didn't quite understand within, grade school or
Hmm.
as you matriculated up to middle and high school, that you also wanted to be that teacher to provide that voice and structure.
Absolutely, yes. I was not the best student. I did finish, but I was not the best student. And so I totally understand students who struggle. I totally understand students who have a hard time and parents who are having a hard time with their children in school. I understand all of that because that was me. So I can definitely relate. And that's another reason, thank you, Helen, why I became a teacher as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Tracy, for sharing. Wanda, we know you have like an extensive background, so please definitely share that. And then also why you decided to go into the profession, as well as just more about you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Wanda Harding, and I hail from Atlanta, Georgia. And my journey into teaching is, I call it the reverse Hidden Figures. If you remember the movie, they were teachers who NASA pulled and they became rocket scientists. I started out as a rocket scientist and then ended up in the classroom. So it's been an interesting journey. And I will say that this is, I just finished 8 years of teaching. And of those 8 years, without fail, um, I get asked the question by my students when they find out my background, why in the world did you leave NASA to come teach us? And when I first started teaching, I was kind of scratching my head going, yeah, you're right. But no, seriously, I would always tell them that I cannot complain about the future if I don't do anything about it.
Mhm.
And I wanted to provide kind of that example or just give them an opportunity to, see that there's some non-traditional paths that are available to them. And just being able to bring that real world experience. One of my favorite professors at Hampton was a retired IBM engineer. And it wasn't so much that he was the best teacher, but it was because he came in the classroom with this experience and this additional credibility that he had been where we were headed. And I just thought that that was like the coolest thing. If I'm going to be a teacher and if I want to do it in STEM, I want to walk into the classroom with some experience and networks that I can bring to the students and just kind of make it come alive. I will say I did not grow up wanting to be a teacher. Both my parents were educators, and I ran from it and said nope. So I know my dad's in heaven laughing at me, saying, ha ha, yeah, caught up with you.
It did.
And I
And
think
excellent educators, absolutely. Go ahead, Charlita.
And I feel like that speaks to like having like that real world relatability. And like when you think about kind of what you said, Tracy, or Helen said for you around like being the person you couldn't see, I think sometimes, even if you weren't a teacher, but whatever job you're in, when you feel like the person hasn't walked in your shoes, then you feel like they really don't get it. And it's really kind of easy to teach theory, but then like how do you teach the application for kids to really get it and connect with it, even like math, right? Like people struggle with it because they don't understand how it relates. But like if you've actually been a rocket scientist, then you can put it in a way that's like where kids can understand it versus just like the textbook. So I think it's awesome that you kind of walk that walk.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I mean. I'm a high school teacher. I did 1 year of middle school, but I do have the high school 9 through 12. And so it does make it easy when they ask, well, why are we having to learn this? And I can provide some
Mhm.
tangible evidence.
You're like, I'm basically a hidden figure. So
Yes,
But
yes.
at some point, it's going to come into play.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for sharing that background, Wanda, and that purpose-driven component too, which is so important. And both of you having the relatability to connect with students, on different levels, which is also awesome. As you know, Wanda, you've been an educator for 8 years, and Tracy, over 25 years as an educator. We see so much change that's happening like in the education system right now. And with that, how has it changed and, what trends do you foresee? And you can speak respectively from, elementary all the way to high school.
Of course, I've seen many changes, as a teacher in this field. I've seen changes with the students, with the parents, with the administration, with the curriculum. I've seen many, many changes. When I started teaching in Hampton, we were teaching all about the basics. We were focused on phonics. We were focused on spelling and reading and writing. And there was like a little sprinkle of social studies and science in between. And then we moved from that era to the whole language era. And whole language was when we tried to focus on, like the whole child and let the kids explore and experiment. And, that invented spelling became about. And, we saw them trying to use authentic books and science and social studies books to help teach kids how to read and how to write and how to, develop language. But then, educators realized, that didn't quite work because a lot of kids didn't have that background experience or that background knowledge. They didn't know how to actually put all that social studies and science together to learn reading. And so now we're kind of seeing it kind of go back to the basics, but we're also including some of that whole language and experience that we have gone through. So we've gone through many phases in elementary. So now I love the fact that we're going back through phonemic awareness. We're going back teaching phonics, and we're using, some of those stories to help children understand elements of storytelling and use that element to help with writing. And so we're kind of combining a lot of things in the literacy era now. And so I'm absolutely loving that concept, and it's a little more easier for kids to grasp. I've also seen the rigor in teaching change. Like we teach bell to bell, we teach, it's like a very fast paced schedule that the kids have to kind of keep up with. Even in pre K, back in the day, pre K was all just about coloring and playing and numbers and all of that, but not anymore. They are learning sight words, they are doing math, they are learning, lots of different concepts. So education has definitely changed over the years. And so we are really moving towards collaborative learning. We're moving towards kids being accountable for their talking in class and using the things that they are learning to kind of talk about and teach other kids how to do it. So the teacher is there as a facilitator, but the kids are actually doing more of the learning now and more of the teaching and having themselves being accountable for what they are doing in the classroom. And so it kind of all falls back on, the child. And, some of the changes have been good and some have not, but we are tweaking it. And so we're excited about what we're doing right now. I'm loving what we are teaching right now in elementary.
Oh, awesome. I'm learning something. Okay.
And
Fantastic. Transitional.
so for me, walking back into the classroom, my last memory of high school was from back in the 80s, and it looks a lot different now. So I had to make that kind of adjustment. And the biggest difference that I saw, there were just some basic, um, I guess, number facts or things that you would just expect to be a part of you. And I ran into more and more students that was not a part of them.
Mm,
And as I dug deeper into trying to figure out why, a lot of the different methods that they were using to try to teach students and I guess differentiate is a popular word that we heard a lot in my training. Um, that grasping concepts started to diminish a little bit for a lot of the high schoolers.
mm,
The other piece that we're now, having to compete with is the attention span. Started teaching in 2018, 2019. So, by then it was really popular to have a cell phone in
mm,
high school. And depending upon, the structure and how your classes are set up, keeping the children's students' attention for learning versus entertainment was also something that I was having to deal with and work with. And of course, now that we're in the age of AI, where a lot of information is instantaneously available, the classroom now becomes an opportunity to convince people why they should learn so that the information that they receive as they're looking it up, they have at least enough to make a judgment call of the quality of the information so that they can say, yes, it's reliable, it's true, or no, no, it's not. And, even looking ahead to this coming school year, I do want to focus a little bit more on just being able to think and do without even using a device. The devices are not going anywhere, but being able to just go through the process and make sense. Because I have a big poster in my back of my classroom that says, you want to make sense of the answer, but then more importantly, you want to be able to tell if the answer makes sense to you. And
mm,
it
mhm,
doesn't make sense if you don't really know how to think about it and kind
mhm,
of just ask yourself, like, does that even, if somebody says I have 32 million inches in my shoe, then, that obviously cannot be a good
mhm,
answer, right?
mhm,
And I
mhm.
think too, it's almost like the perfect blend of what like Tracey was saying and what you're saying, Wanda. It's almost like we don't realize it, but we've been preparing kids for this moment where they have to be their the facilitators of knowledge and they have to understand and not just take just because the teacher doesn't know everything, right?
Right.
Like, and so I think before it was the teacher was the keeper of knowledge, and now it's like students also have knowledge in this classroom is like a shared environment. And so how do you become like that critical thinker? And now in the age of AI, it's really taking those skills and making sure that whether it's Wikipedia, whether it's Instagram, or whether it's coming from some artificial intelligence tool, that kids know like they have to think, they have to be critical thinkers and understand where information is coming from and if it's credible. And my son, I can't remember like the exact question, but he asked, Google a question. And my husband and I was like, that's just wrong. He's like, but Google said, and we're like, understood, but Google is not always right. So now we need you to go look in 3 different places to see, what the answer is. But, whether it came from, hey, Google, or, artificial, that which is a form of artificial intelligence, but some things that we found on the internet are wrong. We even knew there were words misspelled in a dictionary, right? And so we just have to remind ourselves that. But I think it was great that you talked about like the transition of students over time. And if you take a strategic approach to that, it feels like they've been prepared for such a time as this.
Mm-hmm. And so to your point, you're absolutely right. It is a lot of information that they are consuming, and just being able to make that information knowledge, that's the critical piece. Because I even, now I've gotten to the point they'll provide an answer and I'll just ask them, are you sure? And the panic during the first part of the year was like, wait, what do you mean? But then they started to get used to the fact that I wanted them to appreciate what it feels like to be confident and to be able to defend your answer. So that as you are getting all of this information coming in, you can make sense of it. You're not being manipulated by the information, but you can now manipulate the information to get the outcome of the result. And so working with high schoolers, my seniors will be voting in the next presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you think about the fact that every 4 years that this group is coming through, we're setting them up to be decision makers, to influence what happens, in policy, medicine, legal, education, entrepreneurship. And I'm seeing our generation being responsible for making sure that we've prepared them to navigate in this new.
I think the last thing I'll say on it is it's almost too where as an adult, we probably have all interacted with people who, when you're asking a question, they take it as you questioning them and they get defensive. And so I do think it's like as a parent sitting here with a 3 and an 8-year old being like raised in this kind of generation, it's a great reminder to start questioning, asking questions to your kids out of a place of curiosity, so that when they do get questions in whatever profession that they're in, they're confident in being able to answer the question and don't automatically think of it as, oh, you're questioning me and getting all defensive. So that was like a good takeaway for me of what you shared.
Yeah. And I'll say it's also kind of like the background that I grew up in, as a parent with an educator. Um, because, in the summers, we always had to do some form of book reports or some form of, math assessments or problems. I mean, it
Can
was
you say
like,
that louder for my kid? Because say it louder for the kids in the back. What you doing this
yes.
summer?
Absolutely. And I mean, it was, the rigor involved. I mean, there were certain things that we had to do. We had to write out our spelling words and, make sentences. And if things were wrong, we would have to go back and correct them. And it was just as simple as a spelling word. It wasn't even a whole book report. So there are times where I know, there are students that want to get things right on the first time. And that's just not real world. That's not a real world construct. And the learning comes from, doing it over again, making it better, refining, that process. I feel like that's a missing piece that we have to go back and try to quote unquote re-educate students around because it's so important.
And I like the way you talked about the refining piece, because the engineering design process
Mm-hmm.
requires that. And I have a big poster of that in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And, periodically we'll do something, but I want to take them through that no, you're not really expected to know or get the perfect answer the first time, but you should know enough where you can, go back and make the correction or the tweak that you need
Mm-hmm.
to make in order to, come up with a reasonable solution
Mm-hmm.
and be confident about it. But
Yep.
it's still pulling out that thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I keep
absolutely.
telling my son, I'm like, you have to do your work unto the Lord. Like you're not doing it for me. You're doing it as a reflection of yourself. And so would God be pleased? that
Mhm.
how you're turning it, like doing this misspelled word and feel like I should just overlook it. Like, what would God say about this? But then
Mhm.
also, it is okay to learn. If you get everything right on the first try, I'm not so sure you're learning. And so,
Mhm.
like, how do we create that
Right.
environment? Because there's so much pressure on kids, right? So, how do we create that environment where it's okay to not be perfect? And
Mhm.
I think social media, and like we go on a tangent on that. But like, I do think as parents, it's like reinforcing that it's okay not to be perfect. You're not expected to be perfect. We are not perfect. Like, those messages have to come out. And I think you have to say it straight up. Because if we think we're doing it, but we don't tell them, I
Yeah.
Mhm.
think they can't read between the lines.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I would say back in the day, like my parents did not care if they hurt my feelings. Today,
Right.
everything is more
That part.
feeling. It's more conscious, like we want to make certain that, everyone is feeling
And
it.
that's why we all in therapy. For the people out there listening, that's why you do need to care about your friends. I'm the millennial parent here, okay? You do need to care about their
Oh,
feelings
and we
because
need
we are
we
all
need a
in
millennial
therapy
parent.
All right.
because they didn't care about our feelings. Then my grandma called me Charlie the Klutz. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tracy, what were you gonna say?
Uh, one of the lessons that we focus a lot on social and emotional lessons, especially in the mornings. And one of the lessons that we teach is called mistake masterpiece,
Mhm.
and helping the kids understand that everyone makes mistakes. It doesn't matter who you are, adult, children, it doesn't matter, parent, administrator, everyone is going to make a mistake. And it's okay. Sometimes they're mistake masterpieces, and sometimes, it's just a mistake. But you can always go back and fix it. You can always go back and change it. A masterpiece is not just that at the beginning. You have to keep working at it and keep trying, focusing on it. And so we call those mistake masterpieces. And the kids, they kind of like, oh, they like, oh, it was a mistake masterpiece. That's right. So you try to help them try to understand that it's okay to make a mistake, and we're all going to do it. And one thing elementary kids love to do is point out your mistakes. If you're a teacher, you know that the kids are going to point out your mistakes. Not just say, hey, it's a mistake masterpiece. Absolutely, I'm going to make a mistake, but it's also how the teacher responds too. They don't
and
get
they like to
upset that
do
they
it to their
made
parents.
And they do it
right,
to school teachers too.
You said, I ain't saying
right.
nothing. Hey,
Yep.
So yes,
Hmm.
I love it.
I like that concept though. I like that because I mean it's important, and I think if we can start ingraining it earlier, then there can be like a process around it where people are more comfortable. So when by the time you get to high school and you have a teacher like Wanda who says, "Or is your answer correct?" Then they're not panicked by it. Then they
Right.
can actually say they can defend it, or they can say I need to go back and rework whatever I need to do on it. So yeah. Well, another reason why I wanted both of you to join this conversation is because, and I know you guys have been out of school since May because you are in Atlanta, but some schools got out in June or at the end of June. And I wanted to know, like, what are some things students should be working on in the summer? So I asked Tracy that question, and she says, oh, they absolutely need to be reading. And so I said, okay. And I figured she would say that because she's elementary. And I figured, just based on what Wanda does, the answer would be, in a different way, probably, experiments or math orientation or something to that degree. But it would be interesting just to see what you would say as well. But yeah, so Tracy, can you say just a little bit more about what skills that you feel students should be working on in the summer?
Yes, over the summer, definitely reading. Kids should read every day, something every day. It could be a magazine, it could be a billboard on your travels, it could be a book, but they need to be reading something every single day, or listening to someone read to them every single day. You would not believe the number of vocabulary words and the number of words kids learn just by listening to someone else read. So definitely kids should be reading every day. Um, Kids should be working on their math facts every single day.
Mhm.
Math facts are so crucial. They may understand the concepts of math, they may understand the word problems, but it takes them forever to add, subtract, multiply, divide because they don't know their facts. They have to draw a picture, they have to use their fingers, and it's okay for kids to use their fingers to with their facts or whatever. But in basic facts, doubles facts, addition, facts of 10, doubles plus one, and correlate addition and subtraction. You know, addition and subtraction go together. If you know 6 plus 4 is 10, you know 4 plus 6 is 10. You know 10 take away 6 is 4. So, you know, those facts work together. And then the multiplication and division work together. So once the kids learn their facts, I mean, they really can be unstoppable in math because they don't have to take that time out to actually focus on the facts. Just have to focus on understanding the other work that they need to do. But the facts should just come, automatic. And it is stages to that. I mean, I'm not expecting kindergarten to know all the facts, but they can know facts 1 through 5, up to 5. And so, second grade up to 20. And then third grade, of course, they need to know a little bit more. But facts are very crucial to kids understanding math, and it makes them feel confident when they know it. Also, in the summertime, kids need to have a routine. They still need to have a schedule. Even if they go to summer camp or even if they stay at home, they need to have some type of routine or schedule that they can follow. They know, in the morning time, it doesn't have to be minute by minute. It could just be a block of time from 8 to 10. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get up, get ready, eat breakfast, go for a walk, something that they know they can do in the morning. And then, in the afternoon, they may have a block of time where they get a chance to do different activities, but just have some type of routine or schedule for them in the summertime, kind of like they not necessarily like they have in the school year, but just make it maybe more fun. But kids need to have some type of schedule, routine, expectations, cleaning up their room, completing assignments, or doing something that you ask them to do. So keep that going in the summertime because when they come and have a snack or a eating routine, because when they come back to school and they are so hungry all the time. When we eat lunch, what time is lunch? Because they eat all day at home. So just have, some time where they just sit and just eat. Like we're eating at this time for breakfast or this time for snack or something. But it is so funny when they come back because they snack all day. Like we eat all day. So just the routines and just the reading and the math facts, if they can just work on that and just actually talking to them, having them express themselves, having them tell you how they feel. Every day is not a great day for a child when they wake up for some reason. They may have had a bad dream or didn't sleep as well. So just checking in on them throughout the summer. How are you? How was your day? What's something that you did? So ask questions, and even when reading, ask questions about the book. What is its characters like? What's one of the conflicts in the story? So just asking questions and just helping them understand that reading and learning never stop.
I
Yeah, I
love it.
think the one thing I'll add um, is that kids lose between 25 to 50% of their academic gains over the summer. Then you see the disparity between race and socioeconomic in elementary school. What I find interesting before we pivot over to Wanda is that those same gaps exist in middle school, but you don't see a difference between race and socioeconomic. And I argue, without having any facts, but it's my opinion, I think because parents become less engaged in middle school. And so you think about like the structure, the routine, the control you have of elementary school students. And I think in middle school, you're like, oh, they're in middle school. They don't have to go to summer camp. They can sleep all day. They can do that. And so I literally have no facts on that, but the data does show that the same gaps exist, whether you're in elementary school or middle school, but you see
Mm.
race and socioeconomic status in elementary, but you don't see that difference in middle school. So curious about what you see with middle and high school students, Wanda,
Well, I will
or
speak.
what they should do in summer. Sorry.
Yeah, no, so um everything that Tracy said, but then the only thing I would add for the older kids is definitely taking advantage of those enrichment opportunities. whether it's a camp hosted by a university or something that the city is offering, and not necessarily tying it to what their career interests might be. At this stage of the game, it's all about exposure. And the opportunity for exposure provides rationale behind some of the things you're learning in school. And so I would, add to the list, get outside, away from the monitor, and go to a museum, go to a park, do some things with your hands, um, building things. And, for having had an engineering and tech background, I appreciate learning coding, but I would much rather them actually build something and do something more so than sitting at a computer and putting some lines of instructions together and watching something dance across the screen. Not knocking it for those who do, but um, we're ushering them into a time frame where you can just give an AI prompt to do that same code for you. And so, what do you want to do? You want to start giving them opportunities where they're learning about real life. So going to the museum, they're getting some history connections. They're kind of seeing their lessons in class come to life, or giving them something that when they go to their next grade level and they're like, oh wow, okay, I remember seeing something about this. There's the problem solving opportunities that they're giving, because a lot of our math standards now are getting more towards modeling, more so than just, the basic algorithmic, just solving a math problem, but really trying to do the modeling with it. So I think the exposure to different things, whether it's local staycation type exposure or going out of town, would just enrich and help during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would offer um, is practicing for what you expect for the upcoming school year, not just from an academic perspective, but also from a responsibility perspective. I have found, right now we are working on my son learning laundry so he can like sort. He's 8, he's in the second grade, rising third grade. So he can sort and he can fold his clothes, but we're working on the wash machine. We're also working on like, let's try some things in the air fryer, but like things that I want him to do the next school year where we have a little bit more space to practice and to kind of challenge and stretch. So we're already in the routine for the next school year. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something to think about. I also think the chores is a real thing. I think there's a lot of parents that feel like chores is a punishment now and not necessarily like a responsibility of like, and like it's okay for your child to do stuff in the house. It's not like taking them away from their childhood. And so like working on those age appropriate chores, I think it's a good thing. And then the last thing I'll share is if you can't do anything else, go back to what Tracy and Wanda said and just read. Even if it's another tip is like making the movie closed caption and turning it on mute.
Mm-hmm.
And like having the kids do that. You can have them narrate it, take different characters' parts, and like do that on like a family Friday night or something like that. But there's no greater indicator than making sure that your kids read. And there are so many free programs. Like the Pizza Hut Book It thing is back. So free pizzas are back because they were gone for a while. The libraries, all libraries, I think, have
Libraries, yes.
programs and treats. And we're right now trying to win something at our local library. So I think reading, if you feel stressed, is like the one thing you've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because not only making sure that the children are reading, but that they see you reading as well,
Mm-hmm.
because that modeling behavior they pay much more attention to than anything that we can say. And on behalf of teachers who have to remind people to pick stuff up off the floor, thank you for
Every
bringing
day.
back the chores, because those habits at home can easily transfer to the classroom. So,
And
yeah.
I'm so embarrassed right now. My daughter, my 3-year-old, like I guess she thinks like when she's done with stuff, she just throws it. And I'm like, I know they think that I don't tell you to pick up your stuff and put it in the trash. I'm like, how many times I have to tell you that before you just do it on the first try? But yes, I do try to raise her to do that one.
And she'll get it. She'll get it.
She
They get
will.
it. They get it.
Like,
Mhm.
They
I'm
just,
done.
Yeah.
it's not just like the waiting game. They're just gonna see if you're gonna get
If
impatient
you're gonna pick it up.
for
Yep.
me or yes.
Yep. Because to me, like 3 and 4 are like my favorite ages. And I
Come
would
get
say
her.
3 is like the testing phase where they're testing to see like what's going to happen. And then when they actually see that there are consequences, so
Hmm.
right around the time that they're 4 is like, and then they start determining like, now if I do this action, I could get in trouble. Do I want to get in trouble or should I just proceed? So I do like the fact that they think about it before they do it by that time, and then they just proceed in, whatever action that they're going to do. So yeah, so she has time.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
has
And
time.
I
She's
do
gonna
think
get it.
summer should be fun. And I think there's
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
that happens in
Hmm.
all of the things that we're talking about. Like we just took an 8-hour road trip and we did I Spy. We had
Mhm.
reading time. We had music time. We also had Nintendo Switch time. But I do think that it can be fun. Um, but I do think some people is like, it's summer, kids don't have to do anything. And I think that's like we don't have to be extreme. We don't have to make it boot camp, but we also can't
Right.
just do nothing. And it's like if you can find 15 to 30 minutes out of 24
Mhm.
hours,
Mhm.
Right.
like that still is a really good summer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it only takes the 15 minutes, Charlita. 15 minutes of learning something.
Hmm.
It only takes that, and then you have fun the rest of the time. But they still have to do something over the
Bring your
summer.
kids in the
Absolutely.
kitchen with you,
Yes.
have
They can help read.
science. Yep. So
Yeah.
read their ingredients, like,
Read the recipes, go get the ingredients, yes, absolutely. So just reading something doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be so structured on, even on your walk outside. Just, have the kids like, maybe start at one spot and then jump, and then you count how many, inches or, feet they jumped. And then, that's something math related. Then you add your jump in, and then how much further did I jump than
Yeah.
jump. So just something fun that the kids can understand and just do something with them academic related.
And I also think it's around the childhood wonder because, parents can just be so busy. And so we'll hear that, oh, I don't have time to do that. But I mean, when you really engage with your child, you see their childhood wonder. And sometimes for me, I'm like, man, I remember I used to look at things in awe like that.
Hmm.
And because then you get so, you're older and then it just becomes mundane to you. But when you see it, from the position of a child, it's like, I need to go back and start looking at things like they look at things.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically saying a mindset shift for parents too, that when
Hmm.
you're doing some of these activities, have fun. I mean, it's fun being a child. I know I would love to go back and be one. Adulting is not all that it's cracked up to be. So I'm just like, engage with your children in that way and have fun and then just relax and learn and read like everyone else is saying. There's so many things to do. And speaking of a fun activity to do, I did want Wanda to talk about her summer program and camp that she does in relation to STEM, which I'm like, you need an adult version of this. I know you're doing it for, the early learning phase, but I think as an adult, I may want to learn how to fly a rocket.
I have partnered with different organizations or groups to just kind of do activities together. And I will speak on one of my favorite partnerships was with the Cobb County Center here in north part of Atlanta, where we were doing intergenerational STEM activities.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the grandparents bring their grandchildren, no parents allowed, but it was the grandparents and grandchildren and them working together. So whether it was building a solar oven or building solar cars, learning about, uh, model rockets, that kind of thing is excellent. I also partner, we have some activities through our youth ministry outreach at church. So this year they'll be building a small FM radio. So I'm kind of looking forward to them doing that. And they're like, FM radio? I was like, this day and age, you don't always have access to an internet network. So if you still want to be able to get information, and I also offer tutoring during the summer. And to
Mhm.
your point with the learning loss that happens, I am working with students on what they're going to see next year, so that when
Mhm.
they go in the classroom, it'll be like a second look for them,
Mhm.
so that they can start connecting those dots earlier. So,
Mhm.
I have one
Yep.
student that's going to be starting ninth grade algebra, then I have another student that's going into algebra 2 as a
Mhm.
junior next year. So we just, trying to build them up and get them there.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, okay. I still want to take a class, so let me know how I can sign up. And I can sit right along with
Oh,
those
and then
kids
there are the
because
field trips to the planetarium. I almost forgot about that.
okay, there we
So
go. Okay.
getting back into the wonder of things,
Mhm. Yes.
and seeing it through their eyes and just seeing how they're still fascinated
Mm-hmm.
by it, and it just kind of reminds you that the learning shouldn't be boring. It should be
Mm-hmm.
exciting. It should be fun, and then it should be a part of how you are, you know, appreciating even who you are in the whole
Yep.
context of being here on this planet.
Yep.
And to
Awesome.
the moms that are listening that might feel a little bit overwhelmed, I would say that just like anything, if you like, and I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, like whether it's the meal planning or what, I think after your kids, and you tell me if you agree too, Tracy, I think after your kids get out of second grade, if you could spend the 30 minutes to an hour putting the routine together, they should follow it for the summer without you having to sit beside them and read the instructions and like all of that. And then you could do a Friday night or Saturday morning kind of check just to make sure that they've kind of done what you've asked them to do. I think it's harder when your kids are younger where you have to they can't read and whatever, but if you can find 30 to 45 minutes to just kind of put a plan together, math Mondays, tools Tuesdays where you're doing something with your hands or whatever, if you could do that for 30 45 minutes, the kids should be able to follow it. So it's not something you've got to manage every single day. You just got to get the plan together. And maybe we can talk more about that in another episode of like what the how to put together a plan
Mm-hmm.
because you
Yeah,
can't ask
absolutely.
ChatGPT.
Right, absolutely, Charlita. And also like for the younger kids, just doing like a little picture plan for them. Like, you have to, have a picture of them maybe with some clothes. They have to, take their clothes to the and then put it in the dirty clothes, or they have to go get their book and read it for a minute. And maybe you can just have like maybe 3 pictures for them to do. And like every day this is something that you need to do. And once you do your little picture, you take that off and you maybe it's like a little Velcro thing. And then you put it someplace else, like I did this or I did that. So yeah, kids can follow the routine, and kids learn routines very quickly once they are in place because they can definitely tell you when the routine is not being followed. So they know uh, and can
And I
follow
think
all
too,
routine.
the other mom tip I would give is it's not like you have to do it separately. Like there are times where I'll do reading to my kid while they're in the bathtub, right? Like
Mhm. Right.
or like we're reading out loud while we're in the car, or let's you sit here while I'm cooking and do it here. Because sometimes it is hard to just say like I just got these free 30 minutes to just do it, but it's okay to do it like multitask and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and
Absolutely.
while they're doing it. Because again, I think it's not like they have one-on-one time with the teacher when they're in class. Like they're doing their work and they could be helping another student or the teacher could be working on something like they're used to that. So you don't have to have the pressure of like I got to sit here and just do this.
Yep.
Right.
So I
Love it.
love
And
this.
it,
I feel like
No,
yeah,
I
and
do
yeah.
too.
Mhm. And they can also play, games like while you're cooking, like give me a word that rhymes with hat. And they may say bat. So it doesn't necessarily have to be reading, it's just kind of like thinking about sounds and manipulating sounds. That's a part of the phonics piece. And that's something that they definitely need. So go find no do I spy in your room and bring me something back that starts with letter B. And then they have to run
well,
back,
let's play the quiet game.
right. Right.
Oh. Mm.
Oh, sorry, that's just
Absolutely.
me. I'm the only
I know.
mom that want
No.
their kids to be quiet.
No, you're not. No. No, because I mean, silence is good too. And then,
Mhm.
like my sister and I, we were
Sit
just
with your
talking
thoughts.
about, yeah, in the summer that like my mom would always make us take a nap, and we never understood why in the summer. And I think it was because she needed a break. And and then we would fight and like, no, we don't want to take a nap. But once
Y'all
we
fight.
got settled, and it would literally be like 30 minutes. Then she would say, oh, okay, it's time to get up. And then we never wanted to get up because we didn't realize how tired we were. So also think it's important just to, you know, think about those times too of silence or quiet time
Mhm.
Yeah.
Once
or
I found out at daycare, you gotta be quiet from 1 to 3, whether you take a nap or not, and you can't get up off the mat. You can't play with the toys. I'm like 1 to 3 on the weekend is happening. It's quiet time and it's working. I'm like, yes, that's it. I'm like 2 hours is a long time. Be
It
still on the
is.
mat, but they do it.
They do.
And I'm like, oh, that game changer. I'm like, oh, you
Mhm.
don't take a nap and you quiet and you in your room.
Yeah. Yeah.
She might
Hmm.
take a nap, she might not, but she's in that room because she does it at school. And I'm like, great. Thanks for the
Yep.
tip.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes. And when I taught pre-K, the kids took a nap. It wasn't long. It was maybe 45 minutes,
Yeah, I think
but
two
they had
hours
to
is a
lay on
long
their mat. Right. I know that is a long
Mhm.
time.
Yeah. Well, I
That is
like
time.
how
long.
we're talking about like just these ways that we can engage that is supportive of students, but also supportive of parents. But I wanted to kind of round out and just, inquire about how we can be more supportive of you, as educators. Like, what are some things that we need to do to, help you, assist you, in the classroom? Obviously, a lot of quote unquote home training is what I'm hearing on this call right now. The things that you apply at home, kind of go over into the classroom. But, what are some other things?
So I'll just start from the top piece of it.
Hmm.
And I think two things, especially for high school, is making sure that when they leave home, they know why they're coming to school and whatever it takes to make sure that they walk in the door recognizing that they have some sort of purpose and worth. And
Hmm.
that's intangible, but it makes a world of difference. And, I would say that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, following through and doing the things that we're talking about here, which is basically, providing that exposure, helping them to see what's out here in the world, opportunities for, gaining responsibility, learning to do laundry. That's no trivial thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's real life, but it's also teaching responsibility, it's providing experiences. And so when there's learning in class, they're able to make the connections because we're always, being told, make sure that you connect what you're teaching them to real life. How do they define real life? Real life is what the parents have presented, to
Hmm.
them as real life.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those would be my two things.
Yep. And I like the confidence building that you shared. I was looking at an IG clip with Kirk Franklin, and he was talking about, his beginning phases of being a musician, in the church, but then starting his first album, which also blew up. But even when he, did that on a high level, he was never told good job as a kid.
Mm,
So even though he had mastered some of that, he was still, lacking confidence in his ability where he was drawing and pulling crowds. And to me, I kind of got a little misty-eyed just thinking about it. Like, you're an adult and no time during that time where you were, probably from an infant all the way up, you never
mhm,
heard the word good job. I mean, that was startling to me. And it also just lets me know that there are a lot of students out here that don't hear that affirmation, from home. And it's important. And it doesn't take a lot. I mean, I think sometimes people think they have to go out of their way to really provide some type of affirmation or accolade. to their child, and it doesn't. I mean, it can be a hand clap, it can be a fist bump. I mean, it can just be some kind of interaction. And don't, so, I mean, to parents, take time to, when you see something, even if it's improvement, you can still say, you did a great job trying this. Now let's try to see if we can optimize it in a different way, or get better at it. So I like the fact that you talked about that.
And we've got to stop passing trauma down through generations. Just because somebody mistreated you, called you stupid, talked about your weight, talked about your color, whatever it is, you break that cycle. Don't go do it to your kids, and we've got to learn how to be intentional, to your point of like speaking positivity to our kids, to change that. They are humans, they have feelings, they matter. And again, we laughed about it at the beginning because it was funny. But so many people have memories of things that people said to them when they were kids, still, like the Kirk Franklin thing. But I think all of us probably remember where somebody in our family hurt our feelings. It may not be your parents, but somebody did it. And you also remember if somebody didn't stand up for you in that moment. And so, like, how do we change that? And I think that's where the social emotional learning piece comes in, that schools are trying to incorporate. But like, we've got to adopt that at home. And I think some people will say, well, nobody did that for me, or I didn't know, I don't know how to do it. And it's like, when you don't know what to do the opposite of what was done to you, right? Like, and you know how you feel. You know how it feels when your partner talks bad to you. You know how it is if your boss talks down to you. And then we go right around and we do that to our kids. And I think we have to really check ourselves. And I'm not perfect. Like, I know we've talked about this, Helen, but we apologize to our kids.
Yeah, you have to apologize when, some things we say just don't come out right. And kids appreciate the apology.
They do.
Oh, yeah, they do.
I love this. I mean, we could go probably on and on. I think there's opportunities to continue this conversation where we can actually like get tactical with like actual plans with parents, bringing them back to school, what we need to do to prepare. So I know I speak for Helen when I say we would love to have y'all back, because I think we have so much to share. And I appreciate y'all like being here and sharing your wisdom. And when we share this episode, we get tag, because I've got a feeling that parents will probably want to kind of reach out and get more insight from you all. So thank y'all for being here and sharing this space with us and educating us and our listener families. And with that, be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe Behind the Throne, wherever you listen. Thank y'all for being here. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Behind the Throne podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and comment below with your feedback. Check out future episodes from us as we discuss motherhood from babies to adults.